grand entrance to the front of the palace. As you step up, the front doors open on their own with a large, heavy shaking of the wood. As the palace doors open, you guys are led into the central chambers of the main palace walkway, which splits to the right, left, and then across leads into the main throne room. However, you guys are meeting in the council room, which is to the left. You've been there twice before. So you're led over to the council chambers, which, as you enter the main circular room, you're brought into the nice hardwood floors, the kind of dark forest green colored walls, these long tapestries which recall various battles of history, and broad mountainous landscapes showing settlers making their way across dangerous terrain. You can see various weapons from different civilizations that were brought as gifts to Emon that have been mounted on the walls. It's a presentory, kind of atmospheric decor. And in the central room, you can see what currently stands the entirety of the Tal'Dorei Council in a kind of a hushed discussion. The council, of course, has at the center, across the table from you, Sovereign Uriel Tal'Dorei II himself, the leader of Emon and the current sovereign of all of Tal'Dorei, this section of the continent. You see him with his characteristic dark hair with kind of graying sides, kind of cut shorter than you recall. He just recently got a trim, and some very, very well-kept facial hair. He's wearing his ceremonial robes, which are the same kind of gold and red color as the armored soldiers that greeted you at the front of the palace. Next to him, you see Lord Riskel Daxio, which is the elven male who helped you guys handle your purchasing of the keep when you were awarded that at the end of your last journey. He's the master of trade currently within Emon. You can see he has kind of a long, kind of strawberry blonde hair that is pulled into a tight ponytail to the back, and he wears kind of darker clothing, more for decoration than actual use. His armor seems to be loose and more decorative. Next to him is Guardian Tofor Bratoris, which you've heard of and have not met before. A female dragonborn paladin.
Say that one more time. Guardian who's a what now?
Guardian Tofor Bratoris.
Tofor?
Tofor. Bratoris. Her name's been mentioned before, but this is the first time you guys have actually seen her in person.
It's a girl.
It's a female dragonborn paladin. She is adorned in full silvered platinum plate that is currently carved multiple symbols of Bahamut, the platinum dragon. As she kind of looks up and notices, you can see she gives kind of a hand up, kind of a symbol of a greeting towards Kima. As Kima also gives her hand up, and they both touch the front of their armor in a kind of a symbolic, holy way. They've both been followers of Bahamut. You immediately make that religious connection between the two of them. Next to her, there is a halfling male in kind of a rangerish garb, wearing what looks like some really fine chain shirt with a thick, dark black cloak. He's shaved bald with tattoos on one side of his face. And he introduces himself briefly.
I'm terribly sorry. I did not mean for there to be any sort of a misunderstanding here.
Kind of gives a slight nudge to Tofor.
I do not believe we've met at this time. My name is Seeker Assum Emring. I'm the Master of Secrets here within the Council.
And he kind of extends a hand towards you, as almost like alleviating the tension.
Hi, I'm Stormwind here.
Well, I assume you're the ones we're waiting for. Please have a seat.
At which the Sovereign finishes discussion with another human which you've not met. He's kind of a built and armored individual. Probably stands the tallest of the entire group. Thick, square jaw, kind of unshaven. At which point he kind of puts his hand on the Sovereign's shoulder and says,
I suppose I should introduce myself as well. I've heard much about you, Vox Machina. I am Arbiter Brom Goldhand, and I have recently taken up, as of 3 months ago, the position that General Krieg once held within the city. Since he was unfortunately lost to us, there was need for a new Master of Law, and as since I've had a lot to keep up on, unable to meet you personally until now. But it is a pleasure. I've heard nothing but great things.
And he sits down in his chair. Allura finds her side of the table and gestures the rest of you, please have a seat. The Sovereign is in the midst.
I stand. I don't sit.
All right. The Sovereign finishes writing some papers, rolls them up, snaps twice, and the gentleman comes by and he hands him the papers and says,
Give these to Lady and Lord Briarwood as soon as possible, thank you.
All right, so, first of all, I want to welcome you all back. It's been a few weeks since we've seen each other. I've been recently given word that you so unceremoniously appeared in the center of the Lyceum, not but 12 hours ago. Worse for wear. So, I would like to know, first off, why you've returned in the center of our city, and well, I want to see how your well-being has been these past few weeks. I apologize, I'm a bit scattered. I've had a few things on my mind as of late. But yes, how is Vox Machina?
If I may.
Yes.
We didn't choose to dump ourselves right in the middle of the city. That was born out of necessity, not out of choice. The task we set out to finish proved a lot more complicated than originally perceived. Frankly, I worry about the safety of the city of Craghammer. Underneath their home, down in the bowels of the earth, I don't know how much the Council knows about the race of the Illithid. We stumbled into a veritable hornet's nest of them below the city.
Most faces are blank. Allura, of course, has her hands on the table, kind of, listening intently. As you say Illithid, you do notice that Seeker Asim Emring, the halfling, immediately kind of sits back in his chair with a look of, oh, snap.
I see a lot of blank stares at this table. I wasn't very familiar with them either. There is an entire city in the Underdark beneath Craghammer. And in their midst was a beholder that was controlling the entire city. We ended up destroying it, barely escaping with our lives, fleeing the city, destroying a god? I think.
I don't think we destroyed the god. I think we destroyed
nearly
its...
a demon.
Yes,
The horn of,
something he had possessed, but the god still lives.
But but Orcus was behind the beholder.
Well,
Shadow. No, that's just.
Well,
no, there
That's
was
just his horn.
we
You
killed,
just had the horn. You
we
found the
killed
horn.
Kavarn, and then he got back up again. He didn't get himself back up.
Because he
because
had the
Orcus
horn-
is a god of necromancy and
That's what the
death.
horn did. It brought him back to life when he would die. That's why I ripped it out when we did it, because I knew that was going on. That's what the horn does.
I just worry that it's not just, an appliance. It's got him in it. Some
It
part
absolutely
of him
does.
in it,
Remember, it laughed at me when I tried to crush it.
is what I'm saying.
Right.
Allura kind of looks at you strangely. Tiberius, you sound different.
I was talking about.
I know.
Sorry. Because I'm not talking right now. So.
Be that as it may, we riled up a city of mind flayers. Buttholes, as Tiberius would call them. Very unhappy race of things below the surface of the earth. Now, we're here today because Tiberius, crafty as he is, was able to flee ahead of us and create a portal back here, and we ended up falling ass over tea kettle in the Lyceum. So here we are.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good
Glad
to
to
be
see
here.
you're safe.
We've brought a little bit of the evil with us.
At which point the table gets extremely uncomfortable suddenly, and as everyone steps back, Kima steps forward. She's kind of kept at the back at this point and says, it's all right, it's all right. I will speak for this group, as you also know of their exploits and their abilities. They saved me from what was probably certain death and torture, and aided me in stopping what darkness was beneath Craghammer, at least what we could. But just listen to what they have to say, and understand that they are as trustworthy as they come. At which point, the Sovereign kind of lifts a hand to her and says, well, Kima, your word is trusted, and I appreciate you also have returned to us healthy. So, what is this evil you bring with you?
Well, we have it stored safely away,
Yes.
but this beholder was using an artifact, a horn, emanating darkness and shit. And Tiberius, in the heat of the battle, ripped it from its pate, and we've brought it back with us.
It is one of the two horns of Orcus.
At that notification, you see the name Orcus, and you can see there's a whole kind of energy shift in the room, at which point a lot of furrowed brows drop to intense. The actual air of the room seems to come still for a moment. And from what you can see, Seeker Asum and Tofor both kind of grit their teeth and lean forward as you say this. And, Tofor says,
You said Orcus.
Yes. Are you deaf?
Tiberius.
Madness. We see the apprehension written on your faces, and we are nervous as well. But the alternative was leaving the Horn with these Illithid. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Illithid. And we had to make a judgment call rather quickly, and frankly, leaving it there with them seemed like it wasn't an option.
Well, you've done right in bringing it here. This has to be destroyed, sent as far away, brought out of the hands of whoever. If this is indeed an artifact of Orcus, it cannot exist on this plane.
Plans must be drawn up.
It's kind of what we thought.
Yes, we know this already.
at which point Kima steps forward and kind of says, now, understand, this is not something you can lock in a box or put some guards around it. Okay, there was a reason this was forgotten and needs to be again. Now, with the proper surrounding strength and formidable individuals, I can take it to the Grand Chantry in Osthania, where the High Paladin Archibald will reseal it, far away from the eyes and minds of the world. Lest we can come up with some sort of way to destroy this item. At which point, the Arbiter, Brahm, steps forward and goes,
Well, if you think there is possibly a way to destroy this, then we need to discover this here. We cannot allow it outside of the midst of this to some chaotic winds and whim of the world around us. We have the walls of Emon to keep it safe. Why not take it to the Lyceum?
I want to make an inside check on the whole table.
Hey. I want to also double check. Who was it that handed off the letter to the Briarwoods?
that was the Sovereign.
Sovereign, thank you.
So, which individual? The Arbiter?
Yeah.
The Arbiter Brahm? What did you roll?
It's the 10.
10?
Can I insight the Seeker?
Sure. What's your insight roll?
13.
13? Okay.
And I would like to insight the Sovereign, just because reasons. 1.
Starting the game off strong, guys.
I think you need some
I'm just an idiot.
Florida rolling.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so
we do.
too. You're
I
awfully
want an
quiet.
insight check as well. Because Matt can totally whisper to me if I get this good.
He'll text you.
I'll text it to you.
Alright.
Roll high.
Hold on, I'm looking.
She's rolling.
17.
11?
17.
A total of 17?
11d7.
Yeah.
On which individual?
Which person at the table, sis?
You.
On your brother?
Oh no, on the deep voiced guy.
The Arbiter.
Okay, the Arbiter Brahm.
Yes, the Arbiter.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You.
Why you gotta be like that, huh?
I'll say, and a general feel about the room, but the Arbiter specifically, there is definitely a sense of a very quick rising in tension, fear, and adrenaline in the room at this conversation. Fear is the main thing you're getting. I wouldn't say that you sense any deception. You just sense like the stakes have just suddenly jumped for what they were expecting their morning to be, and they're trying to wrap their head around it. So nothing in too particular catches your shit radar.
Alright.
We are not leaving the horn here.
No.
We would have to leave you here.
As Grog speaks up, the Arbiter says, I'm not saying we leave it here. I'm saying that while we have it here, have it studied, bring it to the Lyceum. The headmaster and his entire research facility could possibly find a way to destroy it. There is no finer
arcane focus than that I see in this city. They're responsible for the construction of our sky ships and the crystals that keep them elevated.
I love sky ships.
I believe the power will be too great. It will corrupt. People will want to take it for themselves.
Then it has to be taken elsewhere and sealed, like Kima was requesting.
So you're saying essentially our two options are we can either keep it here and study it to try and figure out a way to destroy it and have all of the risks of this horn being inside the city, or we take the other massive risks of trying to ship it off somewhere and hope that it gets sealed away?
At which point, Tofor, the female Dragonmore, kind of sits up in her chair and says,
Regardless, it should not stay here, in my opinion. Understand, the longer it resides within Emon, the more word will spread, and more despots will be drawn to our city to claim it. Do you wish to have all the darkness of this land slowly swarm in on this city?
I think we're of a like mind.
Yes.
I think we should take it from the city.
I think it's a giant target on our backs right now.
I turned to the Arbiter. I was like, there is something that you should know. During our battle with Kavan, which was the name of the beholder, which the horn resided upon its head, when I ripped it from its head, I held it in a telekinesis state. I attempted to crush it, for not knowing what it was at first, just knowing it was bringing creatures back to life. When I attempted to do so, I heard somewhat of a laughter in the back of my mind. I fear whatever this is attached to might be aware, or if anything more aware than it was previously. I'm not sure if it was alerted by being placed on the beholder's head to begin with, but I heard something. So, looking at Topher, I agree with the peasant that we should get it out of here immediately.
At which point the Sovereign, who's been kind of quiet at this moment, says, well, best I can tell at this point, it should not stay in Emon. We've had enough trouble in this city and enough issues here that we're having to deal with in the aftermath of the attack on my family. We do not have the mental will nor the ability to withstand any sort of assault, whether from the inside or the outside of the city. If we are to take it elsewhere, I trust the opinion of you, of Kima, and Allura. At which point Allura takes a moment and says, just the knowledge of such a thing existing, let alone two, in this world is dangerous. Who knows what horrors an individual could achieve should they find both horns? Now, wherever this gets taken, the knowledge that all of us know that these exist now, and anyone else beyond this, means that that's a leak. That's a weakness. Now, I've heard of some magics that can erase selected memories permanently. Ancient magics. At which point, as she starts saying this, the rest of the room kind of shifts uncomfortably, and you can see Topher begins to kind of raise her hand to protest, and Allura shuts her down and says, but I would not employ these unless they were absolutely necessary. I need to speak with the Arcana Pansophical and see if this is such a strange and necessary circumstance to allow the use of such magics. That will take me some time to get the entire conclave to agree, but I think it's possible. And maybe the only way, if we cannot destroy this, to make sure that the rest of this world never knows that it existed. I think that's the safest route. As to getting it out of the city, I feel that we have two individuals here, two followers of Bahamut. Both the deity that saw the evil, brought the vision to Kima, and presented, whether in a roundabout way, the power and strength of these individuals to eventually retrieve it and prevent it from being an artifact that instrumentally destroyed the Dwarven city and quite possibly all of Tal'Dorei. So I think if there was a god whose guidance we could look into, I would put my trust in the clergy of Bahamut. She looks to Kima. Kima kind of nods her head.
I, of course, would agree with such sentiments as well.
Kima raises her maul and says, puts it on her shoulder. Well then, if that's to be the case, I'll send word over to the rest of my temple. We'll send over our finest paladins, and clerics and guardians. Prepare a box for travel. We'll take it across the sea. And we shall seal this bastard.
Kima.
Yeah. sorry.
Kima, when you do approach your kin, propose because Orcus's horn is pure black evil. Perhaps the sight of light could help as well. The blessing of Seven Ray and other light sources, divine powers, could be helpful as well.
The horn will remain here until the vessel is brought over, but we have holy vessels specifically designed for the keeping of remains or things that are of great evil. And we would gladly welcome the blessing of something from Seven Ray as well. After all, there is nothing wrong with more positive energy instilled to maintain such a negative force.
Personally, don't trust this horn traveling anywhere without at least one of our supervision.
At which point the Sovereign kind of speaks up and says, and to be completely honest, we are very grateful you've brought the horn here, but you are a motley crew. Who is to say any of you are also immune to this corruption as well? Who's to say you, 8, carry the mental willpower to withstand this darkness any better than a group of paladins designed and trained their entire lives to withstand and destroy this evil? What assurance do I have that your attachment to nature would not become some dark, brambled, twisted thing in the proximity of this artifact? None. Just keep that in mind.
I look to the group and do this to Scanlan.
You're taking quite advantage of his current state of
You
mind.
have no idea what I'm going to do for the rest of this game.
You literally do that to Scandon? Like you to Scandon?
No, I was pointing at him.
Right in the air.
Right near.
Wet Willie, to our little gnome bard. We miss you, Sam. Uriel looks around. Well, given this circumstance, I would say that our best bet now is to have Kima and Tofo reach out to the Grand Chambers of Bahamut, have them bring a vessel and seal it somewhere that they find fit for an object of this dark presence. Is the Council in agreement to this? Unless some other better means arises. How long will it take for this vessel to arrive? At which point Kima kind of scratches her chin for a second and goes, by the fastest ships, especially if we're using some of your fancy sky dinghies, I can't imagine more than 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Which point,
That's 14 days, Your Highness.
That was adorable.
A fortnight.
At which point, Alora stands forward and says, it's in the means of...
You guys don't have any holy ships here? Like, you don't have like a ship dock?
I'm sure if they did, they would probably use that one.
But I'm using it.
But I'm using it.
At this point, okay. At this point, Alora kind of sits forward into the rest of the group and says, to be fair, Kima, in my experience and knowledge, ships function well for the movement of goods and large objects. The speed of this requires some expediting, and, well, I happen to have a friend who is over in Occitania, probably not far from your clergy. Perhaps we can facilitate a 2-day travel? At which point the rest of the group kind of leans back for a second, and Kima goes, well, fine. Yeah, I guess. Kind of shoots a dirty look a little bit.
Can I do an insight check on Allura real quick?
Sure.
You're saying that she's saying a ship would be ready in 2 days, or would take 2 days to travel?
No. Laura's saying, depending on the size of this vessel, why do we even need a ship?
Yeah.
We have the ability to transport between the cities. If we can pool our resources, there's no reason why we can't bring them here nearly instantaneously.
13.
13. Best you can tell, Alora, I mean, who's really hard to read. She keeps saying smile, but she definitely has her intense face on. She's deep in the moment. No real gives one way or the other. The rest of the group kind of looks around, and Arcanist, in the silence goes, well then, I think then me and Kima and Tofa, if you'd like, we can designate a way of bringing this relic container as fast as possible so we may get this going. I wish not to keep this within our presence much longer. Do we agree to that?
Yes.
Yes.
We do. I think we would feel comfortable going on for the ride and seeing this thing through to the end.
She kind of glances over to the Sovereign. The Sovereign gives a nods. Very well. Very well, I'll allow it. I may have some business for you coming soon, so try not to be gone too long. Although this is much more important business, I do agree. And he kind of gives a laugh and a smile to raise a bit of levity in the room that nobody seems to respond to. But nevertheless, if you wish to travel and see this through, I don't see there would be any complaint. He looks to Lady Kima, and Kima says, "Oh, no, not at all. You've gotten along swimmingly so far. Mostly." Very well. Then I'm bad at this political stuff, and Kima kind of steps back a little bit. And I defer to the rest of you. Puts her mace on the ground, or her maul on the ground, and kind of awkwardly looks away. Sovereign goes, "Very well. It is settled. Reach out to your clergy, bring the vessel, Allura, facilitate its arrival. We'll get this artifact as far away from Emon as possible. This is adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming to this council meeting."
Okay.
I'm waiting until I'm going to catch the Sovereign on his way out.
All right. At which point everyone kind of gathers the rest of their papers, their parchments, they're rolling up scrolls. The Arbiter gets up and kind of lumbers his way out of the room. The Seeker asks him, steps up to the rest of you once again with a final handshake. "A pleasure to meet you all once again. I've heard so much, and you're doing fine work." And he seems like just strangely, I'd say nervous, but in a weird way, he's a gentle hint of fanboy.
I wink at him.
Oh, stop it.
He slyly winks back on his way out. As he exits, Tofor stands up, and now at her full, you've only seen her sitting since you arrived. As Tofor stands in her female dragonborn form, she is probably a good solid foot taller than Tiberius, and is a thick, muscle-bound dragonborn paladin of Bahamut. As her armor kind of shifts as she stands, she begins to make her way towards the door, not even with a glance in your direction.
That means she's as tall as you, Grog.
What?
She's as tall as you.
I just whispered to Tiberius and say, Are all the ladies that big in Draconia?
It all depends. No, not really.
She's bigger than usual.
She's a wretched peasant, so I cannot.
So mean.
It's a little harsh.
She exits. Allura stands up, begins to leave. The Sovereign stands up, and as he stands up, the guards come out and they kind of come to his side.
Good Sovereign, if I can have a moment. Did I hear correctly that Lord and Lady Briarwood were in town?
They were but a week ago.
They were but a week ago, and they've left, have they?
Yes. Do you know of Lord and Lady Briarwood?
Oh, just in passing. Did they have business in town? Was there something in particular? I'm just curious. It doesn't really matter. It does matter, but not particularly.
It was relatively routine. We're establishing an official trade route through the northeast, spanning the Boreal Plain to Whitestone.
Oh.
They inherited the region after the unfortunate demise of the Dirola family.
Yes.
However, our ambassador has noted that they've rebuilt rather well and honored the memory of the family, and they're really committed to re-establishing the foothold of Whitestone in the north, and so they came here on a diplomatic mission to open trade.
Oh, that's nice. I would love to. Please keep it quiet. But if I could be notified if they're coming through again, I would very much like to surprise them, if that would be possible.
Am I standing next to Percy? Am I hearing this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So, just old business. It would be very interesting to see them again.
For the sake of this conversation, I'm going to ask you to roll a deception check.
Okay.
Ooh.
Natural 20.
On the new pretty die.
Don't fuck with me.
The Sovereign gives... certainly. Very well. I will notify you should they come through again.
Deeply honored by your thoughts, sir. Thank you.
No worries.
At the end of this conversation, I'm going to rip off a piece of the scroll of transcription. I'm going to approach.
When you do, all you do is write the message to this, and we will receive it. It's an enchanted parchment, and I will receive the message. So
he gives us I know how things work. Yes, thank you. And as you present it, he kind of walks by, and one of his guards takes it from you and kind of gives you a nod. And they exit the chambers. You guys are escorted out into the main hallway of the palace. And as the rest of the council scatters amongst the palace proper, you're all left. The doors close behind you in the echoing hallways towards the central left side of the palace.
Rise for our guests, Lord and Lady Briarwood, to join us at the table.
Risen already. I'm standing already.
Lord and Lady Briarwood now enter arm in arm, slowly walking from the far end of the great hall. They make their way to one end of the table. They both wordlessly sit down smiling and acknowledge everyone at the table. There's a moment of silence, and then another servant says, "And would all, please, attention be given to our sovereign, Uriel Tal'Dorei II, and the Empress Tal'Dorei." At which point, the sovereign and his wife enter from the same entrance point. Everyone stands up from their chair, waits for them to get to the edge of the table, at which point they kind of nod their head. Everyone gives a low bow. You guys kind of follow suit, kind of following the social graces you're not familiar with, but trying to learn as you go, except for Tiberius. You know this deal. And you all kind of like follow his lead on this. Eventually, everyone sits down again. Tables are pushed in by servants behind you. You're kind of like, oh, kind of caught off guard by the whole experience. At which point, Uriel looks about the table with a smile. His shoulder-length brown hair and his kind of chin goatee, very well crafted into almost like a point now. He looks about the table. "Thank you, Lord and Lady Briarwood, for making the journey across the lands so that we might meet in person finally. Please, allow me to introduce our dining party and esteemed Council of Tal'Dorei." And he goes around the table introducing Arbiter Brom Goldhand. He is the Master of Law of our city and is responsible for maintaining all of these grand people of our fair town in the realm of safety and order. We have Lord Riskel Daxio. He is our head of planning and construction, has overseen many of the expansions of the city, and is a trusted friend of mine. We have the Arcanist Allura Vysorin, one of my trusted advisors, one of the greatest arcane minds of all of Tal'Dorei, and the overseer of all things arcane within our city. We have the Guardian Torfor Brotoris, a fierce warrior, and currently the Master of Defense in our city, and hopefully for a long time to come. And Torfor kind of gives like a sound. Everyone's kind of put off by it, but they're also seemingly used to it. Arbiter Brom Goldhand, Watcher of Master of Law, my lovely wife, the Empress Alda. We have here within our midst as well, Vox Machina, a team of intrepid adventurers who rose up and saved mine and my family's life, and very well the city of Emon, and have since proven very useful to our territory. Grog Strongjaw, a Goliath of interesting dress, but strong of heart and blade. We have Vexalia, half-elven maiden with a bow as swift as the fastest eagle. Looking next is, we have here Vax'ildan, blades quick and eye is sharp. Not a whisper passes his ear. Ah, there you are. Scanlan Shorthalt, performer known far and wide. A wit as clever as you've ever seen. His songs are whispered through taverns across the land. We have Tiberius Stormwind.
I'm from Draconia.
Hailing from Draconia. Which, it's across the Briarwoods, which, as the kingdom you hail from originally, not being far off from Draconia, perhaps you've had some dealings with the Stormwinds, and the Briarwoods kind of give a nod.
Yes, we have seen them in the past. We've heard many good things.
They're pretty cool.
We have over here Keyleth of the Ashari, if I'm correct on that. She is a denizen of the natural lands and protector of all things nature within Tal'Dorei.
Hi.
There was one more.
Two, and they could not be in attendance.
Yes.
They were running around. They got diarrhea. Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Anyway.
Too much, I understand.
welcome and thank you. And he reaches over and takes a small glass and clinks it with the silverware. The servants immediately muster up and start pulling glasses out and pouring wine into everyone's glasses. And conversation begins to naturally bustle about for this meal. Immediately, conversation builds in about Uriel talking across to the Briarwoods, talking about the bridge. She says, now, the Uriel Bridge, I don't think the name was necessary, but it's appreciated from my perspective. Now, is this union between Wildmouse and Tal'Dorei, do we have a confirmed trade route between the two? Which Lord Briarwood returns to.
This is indeed very true. We are hoping that through this passageway we'd have means of rather quick trade between this kingdom and yours. Not to mention this would allow for individuals to travel for carried parcels very quickly. And we're hoping to establish perhaps a very quick means of communication outside of the arcane for those who cannot afford these various luxuries. Lady Briarwood kind of taps him on the shoulder and says,
Yes, and by the way, I don't mean to bring up a sore subject, but it's come to our attention that apparently last winter's crest there was an attempt on your life.
And the table gets kind of a little quiet for a second.
We're sorry to hear that. We wish to express our...
and Uriel kind of puts his hand down and says, No, it's quite all right. It was but a paltry attempt, and was thwarted actually by Vox Machina proper. They've been tremendous in keeping us safe, and I greatly appreciate their aid in overseeing my family's good fortune. And, across the districts of the Cloud Top, you're greeted and met within the gate into the central district there. You make your way to the palace of Tal'Dorei, through the front doors, and the guards that are there lead you in, and one of them says,
Uriel is waiting within the throne chamber.
You guys are led down the main hallway into the very center of the palace.
I come out of Minxie.
Okay.
You come out
Which
of
the nervous guard, thankfully, puts his weapon away, and it's like, oh, Lady Keyleth, my apologies, and puts his spear to the side.
Trinket's still here, though.
I buzz over to that specific guard and say, do you have like a lost and found here? I have this really badass serpent-style belt. Sometimes it crawls around on its own, but sometimes it's just a belt. And I lost it here the other night. And I'm really hoping, it ties everything together. Is there anyone I can check with?
Check back after you've spoken with the Sovereign, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Leaves you guys on. As you head down the main hallway, and you recall this hallway, this was a long, dangerous trek the first time you came to the palace. This is where Uriel's family was possessed. This is where you had your battle with the Glabrezu. This is where Pike was slain. This is where you had to pull the shadows from the bodies of his family. This is a very, very emotional place that you really haven't been to since that sequence of events. So walking in already has this kind of tenuous state of low simmering energy. As you're brought into the main chamber, you can see there's the dual thrones for Uriel and his wife. His wife is not present, his family is not present, just Uriel sitting on the throne. There are a few guards on the different entrances to the room. And as you walk in, Uriel just kind of sits there on the throne and gives you acknowledgement and kind of ushers you into the room. You all step in, Trinket kind of behind you, keeping an eye up, like a bear is wont to do. You guys make your way up towards the very edge of the central raised dais where the thrones are currently set up on. You now see on the opposite side of the room Seeker Asum and Allura walk in, as well as Arbiter Brahm, who's the cleric that is the master of law in the city. They walk up and kind of flank the sides of the throne, stepping back a little bit to not kind of gather all the attention, but definitely be there as a show of support. As they enter, the doors on the other side of the wall of the room and the door behind you open, and roughly 30 guards enter the chamber quietly. They all kind of filter in, blocking all the exits. The doors close. No weapons are drawn, but there is a very strong showing of muscle in this room that you weren't expecting for this meeting. Once all the guards are settled and a really awkward silence hits the room, Uriel stands up from the throne and looks upon you, pacing slightly back and forth.
Thank you all for joining me. I must say I am troubled by recent events.
and I wish to speak to you regarding them before taking any action. I owe you that much for all you've done for me. Before you left for Vasselheim, you showed immediate interest in the Briarwoods. Percy in particular. Where is Percival?
He's
banging away at the keep.
Well, he's not feeling well today after the events of last night, so he stayed behind.
Well then, please relay this conversation to him as soon as you see him. So, you exhibited interest in the Briarwoods before leaving for Vasselheim. I, through trust, did not inquire as to why, but upon your return, eagerly told you that they were coming to this feast and invited you as part of the Council of Tal'Dorei to join this feast, as it was your request. I graciously followed through. You showed up, a meal was had, questions were asked, although a few curious ones. I did not pry. Now, I've since been notified, and seen a bit of the aftermath, that you, Vox Machina, seemingly attacked our guests shortly. Please, listen. Attacked our guests shortly after the meal in their own guest quarters, forcing them to flee after you destroyed the hallway, ruined their carriage, murdered 2 of their guards, 2 more outside, and leaving Seeker Asum to witness this entire process. Asum kind of gives a nod. You then tortured the carriage driver, requested he be sent to the dungeon beneath your keep, and upon my sentries returning from Greyskull to deliver him, they find a freshly murdered old woman not far behind the path you took. Not long after, Seeker Asum found me and corroborated most of this unexpected violent behavior. I then asked Arbiter Brom here to divine the nature of this murder, and through his divine sight through the goddess Ayun, comes to tell me it was none other than you, Tiberius, that slaughtered this elderly woman while she slept.
Yes.
Now I am quite disturbed by the events of these past 14 hours, and I would like to hear an explanation. Arbiter, if you could please prepare the space. The Arbiter Brahmin steps forward and pulls forth from underneath his robes a necklace that contains a holy symbol, the same symbol you saw across the temple beneath the Slayer's Take, an eye-like inscription of the god Ayun. Brahm grasps it and kind of looks about you all and prepares this slight hand gesture, and you feel a slight tingle across the skin that just lasts a few seconds.
Can I recognize
and
the spell
fades.
he's casting?
I will say go ahead and make this be a religion check.
He's doing a cleric thing, yeah?
Yep.
This is not good. 7.
Alright. Unable to ascertain the nature. However, the incantation completes. No seeming noticeable effect. Brahm nods and steps back in the line of the thrones. I want all of you guys to roll charisma saving throws.
Son of a bitch. Always a problem.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
19.
11.
I get advantage, and I rolled a 27.
Nice.
Okay. Bards.
19.
18.
Alright, good to know. Uriel then looks to the rest of you. So, I've said my piece for the moment. Explain.
I step forward.
Can I do a quick insight check on Hasoon to see if I can still recognize if he's still affected by the mind control thing?
Go ahead and make an insight check, sure.
Oh yeah. 28.
Glancing at Asum, the way he's looking at you and the general tension and feeling of the room, you gather that Asum is not his normal self completely. You step forward.
Uriel, with all respect, I needn't remind you what the group of people before you put themselves through on your behalf and your family's behalf. We almost lost one of our own. And if that counts for nothing here, then nothing makes sense. But if that is not enough, let us start here.
Broward's of vampires. And that old lady, who was a butthole, by the way, was with this demonoid person who we had to fight as well. We deal off with him.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time. But that's true. But one thing at a time. We had prior knowledge of the Briarwood's intentions before this evening. And I myself went to spy on them.
Here's the thing. Percy doesn't like them because they killed his family.
All of them.
They took over his home after killing his family. He got away. He knows they're scary. We're trying to protect you.
So the point is, we all know how dangerous it is that the knowledge of vampire existence and the spreading of those vile creatures. And now we know they do exist. So however the means that came about is neither here nor there. We know where they are.
And if you're wondering how we know they're vampires, Max, this is your cue.
Oh yeah,
You showed him the bite already. You showed
I
him-
will subject myself to any test, to any wizard or mage in this city who you know can ascertain the truth, to look through my eyes, to see my memories. I don't know shit about magic, but there are people who do.
Cleric Tristan also treated him
the Temple of
last
Serenray.
night for his vampire inflicted wound. I know this all looks really
Yes.
bad on the surface, and we did not want to cause any disturbance within these hallowed walls.
Of course not.
But there was a danger. We acted perhaps too abruptly and without telling you. And
But we tried to get your attention. I called for you immediately as soon as we knew there was danger.
And don't take our word for it. Anyone, have them look in here.
The thing is...
Actually, you take a storm.
Silence!
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Silence. You are in my court now, Stormwind. You put so much weight upon this trust, and you have done a good service. But also I've heard whispers that you've thrown this trust around in many circles. Remember, we held a parade in your honor. We spread the word of the good deeds you've done. We, at our own costs of Emon, built you a keep, a home, at great expense, to show thanks. And also, I believed, upon allowing you to join this council, put us square. I owe you nothing. Just as you owe me nothing.
Do you not want the truth?
I want the truth, but I also want you to understand the stakes that are here, in why there is this question. As the leader of this, not this city, but this entire countryside, I have to be sure. And this is not the first time I've been lied to by very close, trusted people, so I have to be thorough.
This is why I offer myself completely into your control and put myself under your supervision, and any user of the arcane arts you want to peer inside my mind, let them step up to the plate, because I have nothing to hide.
Also, while you are inquiring about him, you might inquire about Seeker Asum.
If you're worried about lies within your own ranks, I think you should start with him.
In fact, I actually might be able to help Seeker Asum if you will allow me to.
Help him?
He glanced over at Asum, and Asum gives a look to Uriel, and Uriel kind of...
He was mind-controlled last night.
I have had Asum at my side for the better part of 15 years. He is responsible far more than your merry band has ever attempted for keeping and maintaining the good and lawful state of this
Uriel,
country.
your own family was
You!
not themselves! And you know that! Look into my mind! Now, today.
I fear
You don't need to guess anything.
it would also do you well to show respect where you are speaking, half-elf. Now, I would assign Allura to such an endeavor. However, it has also been noticed that she is grown quite friendly and attached with your group, and in this circumstance, there is question. So, you will be, in a few days, assigned an individual to this ritual of which you are presenting yourself.
Uriel, please.
Shh. The Briarwoods, regardless of what you may think they may be, or we do, that will show in time, have shown nothing over the past 5 years, but graciousness, and gone through all proper channels to establish this relationship between our city and theirs. Far more than the previous family ever attempted.
Well,
However,
one may smile and still be a villain.
that goes both ways. Now, please.
Look. Just let me do a quick restoration spell on Hasum. If nothing is wrong with him, nothing will happen. It's harmless. It's like taking medicine when you're not sick. It can't hurt. And if I am wrong, then we can continue on. We can
Please consider
have
it,
Vax
Uriel.
tested. Please, it'll take 10 minutes. What can hurt?
Up until last night, he was himself. Trust us that now he is not.
He came to us.
There has been nothing about his behavior at all to insinuate any change of anything of the sort. And I've known the man for quite some time, before I even took this throne.
And
However,
that can be the power of a very high-powered mind control spell.
I will, in the good graces and the relationship we forged, allow this. Assume? Are you alright? Assume kind of gives a nod. Well, if this is to be how it is, certainly. And he steps forward, the halfling approaches you, looking you in the face. Alright, you would like to attempt your greater restoration spell?
Uh-huh. Can I cast, first I meditate for a second and I cast Enhance Ability on myself?
As a note, as you begin casting, you notice the guards all go for their weapons and just ready themselves, uncertain of what's about to transpire. There's a tension in the room based on what this is going to be. So, you first cast.
Om Mane Padme Hum, Om Mane Padme Hum, Om Mane Padme Hum.
All right, so first you cast Enhance Ability on yourself, you say?
Am I maybe inspired by that?
Sure. Sure. In the tension of the room, the slow, droning hum of the gnome, which you can notice some of the guards kind of look at each other, confused, and Assume puts his hand up like, hold off. Hold off.
Tube and throat singing.
Alright, so you cast, first you cast Enhance Ability on your...
Self.
What ability?
Alright.
To enhance,
Just gonna add something.
Wisdom.
Okay. So,
I think that's what
you reach out with the Greater Restoration.
Mm-hmm.
You complete the ritual. You touch onto the arms of Asum. It fades, and you see in his eyes. There's like a moment of clarity and an inhale, like a slight gasp, like some realization hits him, and his expression changes and looks towards you and just goes. Puts his hands out like this for a moment, just trying to almost trigger something. Go ahead and make a wisdom check. So D20.
Okay.
Or no, make an insight. Make a straight insight. This is more of an insight roll here.
Okay. 29. Who?
You get the sense through the subtlety of physical motion and expression, Asum is telling you, just go with me on this.
Oh.
He steps back into the place next to the throne. There's a brief moment of pause. Uriel says, and Asum? Asum goes, my stance has not changed. I know not what she is attempting or thought the situation was, but it appears to me that this was either misinformation, or at least at the time being, Hopefully not to lie, but I believe Brom has taken care of that, yes? And Brom gives a nod.
I certainly have hoped to.
Uriel goes, All right. Here's the circumstance. As it stands, I fear I must revoke Vox Machina's membership in the Council of Tal'Dorei until further notice. For the safety of our countryside and the current tension in our relationship.
Objection.
That's it. I just wanted to say that. It's.
Please continue. I just want it noted that we object strongly to this.
I understand. And this will only continue until all of our investigations are complete.
Are we still allowed free reign to roam about as we please? Are we under arrest for anything?
You are not under arrest. You are revoked from the council, and you will be closely watched until our investigations are complete.
How long will your investigations take?
Looks back to Asum. Asum says, well, depends on how quickly we can acquire the information. It could be weeks. I'll do my best to make it thorough and quick.
Are we allowed to leave the city in that time?
Uriel looks back and says, you may leave if you wish. Know that there have been precautions taken. Should you attempt to flee, we will find you.
And when are you to look into my mind?
Weirdo.
Seriously. Friggin' ends it right away.
Can you read my mind?
There is no spoon.
We are to speak to the Lyceum to find a proper individual of sufficient power and trust to do this, as Allura right now is being kept out of the scenario.
Are we allowed to speak with Allura?
If you wish, outside of these chambers. Do what you must to clear your name. I would like very much for this all to be true what you're saying. But do not flee. Do not give an inclination that you attempt to escape this judgment, for we will take that as a sign of guilt.
We have no intention of going anywhere.
Should we conclude that your actions were beyond reason and the moral fiber of this council, before your return, we will have no choice to put a bounty on your heads, should you not return. I really, really do not wish to do this.
And when we prove that we are
Do
indeed...
not make me do this.
I stand up. No need for threats, friend. Are we done here?
I want to believe you are. I ask you, show that my trust has not been misplaced all this time. Now you may leave.
I look forward to the second parade you'll throw for us after our names are cleared.
Very well. Have you business here in the cloud top? And he looks over at you and goes, you're Vox Machina. You're not allowed in here, and I'd like to know your business, please.
We're here to seek an audience, and we would be more than happy to have an escort. This is an audience that the king is going to wish to take.
Go make a persuasion check.
Come on, Snitch. Oh boy. Snitch.
Better. 21.
Okay. He kind of looks at the both of you, kind of looks past and sees the rest of the group a little ways back, looks at the guard companion there at the front gate, goes, that could be arranged. Just no funny business. The moment you do, this entire district's going to be down on your head.
We have no intention of anything funny.
Good. Good. And he kind of puts his thumb up and you hear the chains and the portcullis begins to lift that leads into the central area of the Cloudtop district. You guys step back into the familiar area. The streets here much cleaner, the cobblestone much fresher. This is, once again where the more upper class and elite of Emon stay, live, and keep most of their business. You make your way through with the two guards flanking you guys, and you can see 4 more come down from nearby parts of the wall and kind of flank you guys from the back to make sure that you're kind of encased and taken care of. As you walk through the streets, what turned to be just an arrival is now almost a procession, as individuals are now coming out and kind of seeing this group of you guys walking through the street and kind of peek out.
Some of the local nobles and such. Some seem to recognize you and kind of and dart back in. There was a woman you spoke to a couple years ago. It was like an older kind of spinster type woman who was planning a wedding for her daughter.
Yes!
She kind of waves for a second and goes to talk to you guys real fast, and then one of the guards raises a pike towards her and goes like,
Later. It's going to be fine.
All right. She kind of walks back off. Curious. You're led past the citrine garrison to the central palace, up the front steps that lead to the doorway, the gates that are currently opened. You are led into the central foyer chamber of the central palace, and as you're brought to that point, you can immediately see the guards on the inside kind of step forward and have a silent, whispering conversation with the gentleman.
I can read lips.
You can.
What did they say?
The conversation entails, Vox Machina has returned to Emon. They're requesting an audience with Uriel, the other guard says. Last bit of documentation we've received was they were to be arrested on sight. He says, I know, but Uriel rescinded that recently. He said if they show up to bring him in, they don't seem to be aggressive at all. If they're not going to do anything stupid, we could just kill them here, so they know better than to do anything stupid. And the guardian person goes, you're right, but I've seen what they can do. Bring out whoever you have on shift. And as they kind of step away, this way please, and you can see the guard that was with you kind of splinters off from the rest of the party. And as you guys walk in the hallway, a few moments later, about 20 guards begin to come out from the nearby hallways and follow behind you. It is.
I see a guard I recognize. I go, oh, I got my steak.
And someone goes, oh, yeah. Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy pats him on the shoulder. It's like, puts his spear back in place.
See, everything's fine. It's a lovely welcoming party.
Yeah,
I'm
you look
thoroughly
badass right
impressed.
now.
I know.
You look awesome.
Dun, dun, dun.
The throne room doors open. Enter in the skylight with this, the noonday sun now pouring beams of light into the central chamber. You can see, stepping towards the central dais is Uriel Tal'Dorei, who has not been there previously. Apparently has been recently summoned to the chamber through your arrival. As he steps up and kind of sits in his chair, he notices you guys entering with the guards and kind of nods his head for a moment, looks off to the side, and approaching him to join him on top of the platform is Seeker Asum, who apparently has returned. Yeah. With his shaven halfling head, with his tattoos on the side, and Arbiter Brahm, the cleric of Ayun, who oversaw part of your guys' initial trial here in the council chambers.
He was under their control, I think.
And then after them, you see Guardian Topher Brotoris, who is the silver-scaled female dragonborn,
Yes.
who is
She was just
currently the head of the town's guard.
Topher, what was her last name?
Brotoris.
Man, I need to organize my notes better.
That's
Got it all written down.
So this is essentially our jury, judgment party.
It's most of it from last time you guys were here. Yeah. As you guys are kind of brought forward and the guard stop and let you continue the rest of your pathway forward, do you step up to the?
I step up.
Okay. Is Purcell the only one that's going to
I
step up?
stay with him.
Oh wait, what does he do? What are you doing?
I'm stepping up.
I'm
I'll step
kind of
up.
step up, kind of behind you, kind of like
I pull her a little further along with me, and
All
we
right, cool.
step up.
Ooh.
As those of you who wish to then step up to the front of the dais, Uriel kind of sits up and puts his hand out to tell you to stop where you are.
I genuflect.
I follow suit.
He kind of waves his hand. It's all right. Don't worry. He puts his hands together like this, and he seems very thoughtful for a moment. The silence that kind of pierces the room leads this kind of underlying tension, this awkward bit of wondering, this build of just tension begins to fill the room before he goes.
First and foremost, I owe each and every one of you the deepest apologies. I've only recently cleared my head of a cloud of poor judgment, one that apparently wasn't one of my own making.
And you can see he looks generally distraught. There's kind of bags under his eyes a little bit, like he hasn't been sleeping well, and
You can see one of the servants go, shall we bring Salda? I said, no, it's all right. When last we spoke, we had a trial. Many things that were brought to our attention. In the time of your absence, in hoping that you would find means of absolving yourself of these charges, Seeker Asum here traveled out to Wildmount to do his own bit of informatory gathering. He returned about a week ago, and just as I was attempting to sort out this haze, Asum, if you would please. And he kind of like rests his hands for a second, and Asum steps forward, puts his hood back, and kind of closes his hands before him. First of all, a gracious welcome to you, Vox Machina and friends. I did my digging in Wildmount, specifically Wynandir and Port Damali, near the southwest coast of the Shearing Channel. Inquiries by myself and my gatherers before me revealed that the Briarwoods, while once respected in that community, had been accused of necromancy about 6 years before, a practice that had long been outlawed in Wildmount. Their estate and all lands were to be seized by King Dwendal, but the Briarwoods were officially killed when their homestead was burned by a mob.
By what?
By a mob.
Oh.
All official documentation in Wildmount of the Briarwoods was set in this day, and that was the end of their line. However, this information was kept from ever making its way across the shore, as there isn't a lot of business between Wildmount and Emon. Upon doing more digging in Port Damali, months later it seemed that individuals matching their appearance appeared briefly within the port, where they bought a ship and hired a crew. Now, there was no political knowledge in Wildmount or any approval of a bridge being built either. This announcement from the Briarwoods, whom had previously been silent, came about the time that I had sent 2 of my gatherers to look around and never returned. I theorize that this entire presentation to Emon and these political handshakes were a means to avoid suspicion. I don't know what to what means, but the timing seemed a bit conspicuous to me. Those were my findings in Wildmount, and based on our last discussion, it appears that Lord Briarwood seemed to contain some semblance of mind-affecting prowess. I myself befell to it, and as did our sovereign here. Thankfully, it came to its end recently, and you can see there's a nod and kind of a deep sigh of guilt that emanates from Uriel. Anyway, that is the gist of my findings while you were off in Whitestone. Sovereign, and he steps back, and Uriel raises his head, leaning forward with his elbows on the edge of his knees, still sitting in his throne.
It's also been brought to my attention that the attack within my walls was indeed instigated by the Briarwoods themselves, and that Silas is vampiric in nature. This is the influence that clouded me. This is twice now that I found myself, in spite of all of my protections and intents to defend this city, that I have fallen prey to the wills and whims of some infernal intent. And that is not a way to breed respect or trust in one's leader. I have a lot to think about. Regardless, let it stand that as of this moment, Vox Machina is immediately returned to their place in the council, and all charges against them dropped.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, we've also received a bit of word that you were successful in returning Whitestone to some semblance of new order.
Please, if you would.
If you would, Your Majesty, yes, first of all, Whitestone is once again ruled by the Dorolo family.
It is good to know.
And I must also, at this point, offer our own apologies, which are in order. While there was a supernatural flame of distrust in your heart, it couldn't have been ignited without the embers of our own rash judgments and poor choices. It is difficult for men of action to necessarily pay attention to the smaller details of their world and their realities, and for this, we do apologize. I wish I could say it would be the last of it, but again, it is a difficult world and we are prone to action. And for that, you have our apologies. I would also offer, my lord, that perhaps these infernal powers are attracted by your innate goodness. And that would be worth meditating upon.
I appreciate your counsel, Percival. Well, if there is the Dorolos still in rule, then are you to return to Whitestone?
I am not. There is another Dorolo. The Briarwoods were sloppy in their extermination of my line and family. Cassandra Dorolo now rules, along with a
triumvirate?
Triumvirate, I suppose?
Council?
Council of leaders
Citizenry?
pushing to build the economy once again. And in that sense, I'm sure they would be delighted by the opening of trade and perhaps continuing with the plans for a bridge. Worth discussing at the very least with the new rulers of Whitestone.
We will very much endeavor to extend as much aid as we can to the rebuilding of Whitestone. As to the bridge, this may be more of a matter of us working with the powers of Wildmount, as we were under the impression that that was being handled by the Briarwoods. But we shall pursue this, as this would still be a great boon to our countryside. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Excuse me, Sovereign Uriel. Perhaps I'm speaking out of turn here and I haven't consulted with my fellows here, but you did mention that you've been mind-controlled twice now, and as council members, this doesn't sit well, and...
I understand.
Well, what are we to do? The security that you have in place clearly hasn't worked. Is there a role that we can serve to ensure that you will be further protected?
If I may, Vox Machina would not be here today without the aid and advice of Lady Allura. And I would like to personally testify on her behalf of her ability and her wisdom and her heart. I feel she has a great place in this city, and you should put great trust in her, specifically. She will do much good by you, Sovereign.
Plus, they may be able to enchant your crown so that it has some, special mind control fighting abilities.
She's spitballing here.
Just, throwing out some ideas, that's all.
That could be nice.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
This is being looked into, as previously it was thought that such an enchantment was already provided. It appears the magic went inert, and a re-enchantment is being looked into. And your advisement on Allura's great deal of respect and influence has been noted, as it has for the entirety of her length here as part of the council. When she returns from Whitestone, I intend to see that she is properly rewarded and regarded in this form.
My mother would have said she is a good egg.
That she is. That she is.
Should we hand over the rest of our
Evidence, documents for the archives. We did collect quite a bit of paperwork and documentation that would fill in any of the gaps in the history of Whitestone and...
Kind of leans forward, puts his hand out. Please, anything
Of course. We gathered this from the palace in Whitestone.
Start thumbing through the paperwork. Osum. He hands it over, and Osum takes a moment of quiet himself to kind of thumb through, and he's very carefully inspecting and looking about the edges.
Are you looking for something specific?
I'm currently confirming handwriting. One that I deal with quite often.
Someone from this kingdom?
Yes.
Yes,
Actually,
that's
that
the
is
thing.
something we discovered on our own.
My liege, these papers do appear to be genuine, and that does indeed appear to be the handwriting of Rizkel Daxio.
Yeah.
Shit.
Sorry.
Uriel takes the papers back and kind of... It's not, He's been at my side since I was young. His father, Mikhail, helms our forces at Fort Daxio.
Oh.
Guards! Find and seize Rizkel Daxio at once! The guards immediately go to action, like bringing their weapons and scattering outside of the throne room. You can hear the clanging of footsteps, heavy footfalls, and weapons and shields banging as they start just scattering about the entire palace around you.
Hate to be him right now.
Did you just say that there's a fort somewhere?
Fort Daxio?
Fort Daxio. It's our northern military post. It's by the Cliffkeep Mountains. A lot of very dangerous things reside up there. Giants, creatures, and he holds the border. He's the adopted father of Rizkel, not his
Well, but
actual.
any connection to this traitor may be dangerous for him to be in command up there. This whole place could be a risk.
We shall look into it. They haven't spoken in quite a long time, and as far as I know, there wasn't a lot of love between the two. Besides, Mikhail is not at the fort right now. Mikhail is down in Singorn on a diplomatic military mission.
Your Majesty, I know well the betrayal you feel, and I urge caution.
Caution it is.
Don't forget about Kibble.
Oh, yes.
That's right. I guess we don't need him to
Well, we should
testify.
bring
on-
him out just because he's...
In an effort to be...
Otherwise, he just sat around for nothing.
You look behind, and Desmond is standing behind you, all like wide-eyed and so confused and overwhelmed by everything that's happening, and just kind of eagerly awaiting for you to fill him in.
This young man was an unfortunate victim of my wrath when the Briarwoods visited. He is a citizen of Whitestone, and...
Yes, I was told of this. The carriageman that you had attacked.
I would like to have him be the official letter carrier for any of the first set of correspondence to the new rulers of White Castle. So, since he will be Whitestone, by God, I'm hungry.
White Castle? Oh, no. So if you could send an order of sliders.
About 12.
Don't forget the mustard.
I'm coming up with this shit. It's not easy.
Might need some gut healing afterwards.
No.
Yeah.
Constitution roll. Fuck you all. Would it be reasonable to appoint him as the first correspondence messenger, since he must return home at the very least?
Yes, I would still wish to send him with a few of our trusted soldiers to keep him safe. The roads are not safe between here and Whitestone in general. And I mean no offense to you, young sir, but you don't look able with a weapon.
That would
Especially not against harpies.
be my
Ooh.
fault. Yeah. I should also mention that my lineage has now been restored to me, and I am now of royal descent once again. And so, and again, with my companion's permission, and we will discuss this in the future, but I'd like to put forward the beginnings of the proper paperwork to perhaps have Greyskull Keep designated as an embassy, with all the privileges and rights that presumes.
That could... No, that will be arranged.
I will confer with my...
Yes.
You're on
Very well.
Wednesday soil.
Yes, to say we're on.
Before we give
our soil now.
before we give Desmond his appointment as a royal messenger, which I guess he is, with the kingdom, he risked much to keep himself alive and possibly to testify on our behalf. Would the kingdom be willing to give him a quick little reward for his time spent in captivity?
Make a persuasion roll.
Not great. 24.
Not great.
Yeah, come on.
He gives a nod and looks to Desmond. Certainly. It is only fair. We've traveled this far and undergone much personal difficulty in aiding us and relieving this darkness in our territory and yours as well. I would like to grant upon him, by my estate as Sovereign Uriel, a granted gift of 1,000 gold pieces to be sent on his way.
Desmond kind of like... I will.
Don't faint.
Don't spend it all on the place, bro.
Desmond, the debt that I owe you is larger than coin, and is...
What of coins, huh?
And it's ongoing, so if you can think of what sort of trade you would like to spend your next years of life pursuing, whether it be in...
Probably not lute playing. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
Wow. Fucking
Drums it
cold.
is. Drums it is.
Holy shit.
You are a terrible person. I'm a terrible person, but you're the worst.
Yes.
Even
I'm sorry,
I
what were
am
you
taken
saying?
aback. My jaw is just open, like.
There's an awkward, tense pause for a moment as everyone looks over to Vex, including Uriel. And Secret Assume kind of stifles a chuckle.
Do you know what's amazing, Sovereign, is that Vexalia and Percival were just talking earlier today, and they promised each other to match whatever you offered this boy. And I am amazed at their generosity and kindness.
I walk Roxanne him on the back of his arm. Just like that.
Oh.
Uriel can answer. That is generous. At which point,
whatever work you would wish, Desmond, is available to you.
Two guards rush in at this point and whisper something into his ear, which Vex, you see the lips moving, because that's what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
The verbiage comes across as actually no.
Whisper of 2016.
I love it.
Breaking in the new year.
I'm making this up as I go. Yeah? I don't know what I'm doing.
Look surprised.
I'm a fraud.
Got it.
I've got a Reddit page open behind my DM screen.
Okay. I'm an overcamera. So Uriel's eyes go wide for a moment and nods. All right. The guards rush back off. And well, if there's anything else, I believe this concludes our business.
Of course.
Is there anything else we need or require?
I think we're perfectly well suited for now.
You guys step into the palace, make your way to the main hallway that leads to the central throne chambers. Uriel is not there at the moment, so the guards ask you to wait. You wait about 5-10 minutes or so before the doors open again, and Uriel is kind of hastily walking in and sitting down on his throne. The rest of the council isn't present for this. It's just him currently, and I believe Broford Teforis is there as well. The Dragonborn, the female Dragonborn on the council with you guys. So, as you approach, Uriel sits down, his robe's kind of swishing about him. All right, it hasn't been too long. You requested my presence, and I'm here. What do you need?
Vex, this is all yours.
Oh, well, not on me. It's just all of us. But we found your traitor for you.
Really? And he stands up, and the rest of the guards that have come up behind you to kind of keep an eye and make sure nothing weird goes wrong, kind of step forward a few steps, and he... Bring him forth. Hold him. In irons. Chains, now. And all the guards go and pull him off of Trinket, kind of throw him on the ground face first. He slaps into the marble flooring of the chamber.
Yeah.
A little bit of blood smear across the ground as his face kind of glides
Beat up
against
pretty
it.
bad. You might not want to...
He'll survive.
And you can see now that there's a look of pained anger in Uriel's eyes at seeing the face of someone he trusted for so long. As the guards take the manacles that you guys already had on him, chain his legs together. They put another set of manacles across the back of his arms, so his arms are actually held in two places to the back. They lift him onto his knees and drag him up to the very bottom stair that leads up to the central dais where the thrones are on, and he's kind of unconscious, head lolling about. Uriel looks down and...
Wake him up.
Us?
Someone, I don't care.
I
Wake
got
him
it.
up.
I'll walk over and I'll slap the shit out of him.
You may kill him.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh.
With a resounding slap sound, Riskel sends a spatter of spittle and blood that kind of coasts across the floor. His head shakes. As he looks up at you, you can see his teeth that were once white, now glistening with fresh blood across the entirety of his...
Hello, gorgeous.
Do what you will.
He looks up and sees Uriel.
My liege, what would you have of me?
And Uriel just takes a moment of just intense staring at his face. And
for so many years, you've played me and my family. You've played the people of this city, of these lands. You've forsaken the name of your father, who plucked you from nothing. How can you live with this?
Riskel kind of takes a moment and chuckles to himself, this throaty gurgle as he's still kind of trying to breathe through the blood that's pooling in the back of his throat.
Life is but a stage in our existence. And when you all will die, I will rise again. For I am his blood.
You are his blood? Oh god, what does that mean?
Uriel kind of steps back up on his throne and sits down.
Riskel Daxio, you've been found guilty of treason to the peoples of Tal'Dorei. I command that your sentence of death be held immediately.
Yes! Sovereign, if I may, can we just ask him a few questions before you do what you gonna do?
Quickly.
He's talking crazy. We should find out why, right?
Who's talking crazy?
He said, I'm born of his blood. What do I...
One of Vecna's children? Are you one of his priests? Are you one
You're
of his...
the chatty Cathy. Get with the
I don't know what I'm asking.
You never do.
As you ask him that,
there are many parts to our one, to him. I am but his blood, but there are many, many different pieces that make the whole.
Where are these pieces located?
Oh, everywhere. Good answer.
So, when you say you are his blood, you actually mean more literally? For once? Is that what I'm getting?
Good question.
his eyes narrow and he looks for a moment almost disappointed in confusion.
Just kill me now. I grow impatient with this existence.
That's not a problem. Is there somewhere where you would like to go after you die? Or are you gonna wake up like right after you die?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and are you gonna wake up like a baby? So we have like 20 years before we have to worry about you again?
Or you like a zombie, straight away, just up and at him.
You might come back like as a dog.
Please kill me now. End this paltry
What if you come back as like a
existence.
fish and then you're just kind of screwed and stuck in the water?
Yeah, or like a penguin, and he's like a bird that can't fly, but
And
it
he's
can
just
only
like stuck
swim.
waddling
that's
around.
true.
It's so sad.
Uriel, as thanks for bringing you this gift, we need to run Grog out once in a while. Might he have the honor of removing this shit stain from the world?
Unless, of course, you would like to do it yourself.
Uriel contemplates for a moment.
He is at your disposal. I only ask that you do it soon and in my sight.
It's a big hand to get in there, man. That's really uncomfortable.
He earned this grief.
You hear Uriel's voice behind you say, "Enough, get it over with."
Sorry.
All right, good try, Pike. That was really good.
That was really awesome, Pike.
Nobody else has any other questions?
No.
Just keep it clean so we can burn everything afterward.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
How about it, Grog?
I take out Craven Edge, and I step back, and with a huge swing, aim right under his trin.
Trin?
Trin.
As the blade is drawn from Grog's back, you can see it draws this trail of shadow behind it, almost in the slow arc as he rears it back for his swing. As the blade, with a flash, impossibly fast, whoosh, arcs its way across Riskel's throat. You can see his eyes open up with sudden realization as the moment of pain and death hits him. And his smile draws across his lips as the head slowly rolls back. The blood then just gouts out and begins, with a blast pumps of his heart, his body slumps forward, the guards holding it as they can, just kind of spilling a pool out in the center of the floor. As this happens, Grog, you feel this wave of exhilaration, this almost ecstatic pulse of joy come across your body. The sense of taking his life here with this blade. This first time you really actually used it was delightful.
Oh. I've got goose pimples. Was that good for you guys or what?
I don't know if you should be smiling this much.
That's really kind of jacked up.
He
You just killed a man.
Yeah, he was
Have a
real
little
evil.
respect.
Not happy time?
Quiet, happy time.
Uriel stands up.
Fallen happy.
Guards, have this mess cleaned. Burn the body. Thank you very much.
Skip along. The rest of you make your way to the cloud top. And you make your way around the stage. And it's against the wall near one of the entrances to the cloud top, but on the interior. And you can see there is a rather large stage up against the wall. There is already a crowd gathered. You see merchants, highborn families, political guests, upper station military, a number of well-dressed representatives from all over Emon have gathered for this. You guys meet up with the rest of the group and you kind of, gravitate. Gilmore gives everyone a quick wave and gives you a respectful nod. Yes, and he wanders off and starts mingling with some of the other guests. Just as the sun vanishes beneath the distant horizon, a procession of palace guards approach the area, the crowd parting as Uriel arrives with the escort, flanked by his family, and the current inner council of Tal'Dorei, with Arbiter Brahm, Seeker Asum, Topher Botoris. Allura is absent, of course, for being in Whitestone. They all step onto the stage, along with the guards as well, as cheers and light applause begins to kind of break out. Not crazy, go wild, but just like
Rich people clapping.
yeah,
Sure.
golf claps. Yeah. Guards have already set up a few chairs on the stage. Uriel begins to sit when his family kind of gathers behind it, and he kind of puts his hand out and motions to everybody to go ahead and hush down. As he does, he stands up from his chair.
Friends and family, allies of this fair city of Emon, houses in arms to the Tal'Dorei family, guests, guardians, and lawkeepers alike. I thank you for coming on such short notice. Now, it has not escaped me that talk spreads quickly within these walls, and rumors only seek to undermine trust. It is true, Lord Riskel Daxio, honored member of our council and overseer of development within Emon for many years, has unfortunately passed away. We mourn our friend, and ask you all to respect his legacy enough to not smear his name. That being said, this was just one of many hardships that have befallen our council and my family this past year. Many that have left me with a terrible burden. We've been faced with deceit, and I failed to see it. We've been beset with allies in need, and I have been non-committal in aiding them. We've been clouded by demonic powers, and I failed to protect my family, and my responsibility to all of you. I look back at my bloodline, at my father, and his father before him, and I plainly see what I am not. These times are different. This wonderful city has grown these past centuries into something grand. A beacon of civilization. here in these lands that my ancestors gave name to. My family has built us up, and I feel that there's little more my family can accomplish with the greatness of these lands. It has outgrown our meager guidance. I did not choose to be your sovereign. It was by blood that I came into this. And I did my very, very best to live up to your expectations. I can see the future of you all, and I wish to safeguard it by leaving it not in one hand, but the hands of many. As of the end of this week, I will be stepping down as your sovereign. The Tal'Dorei bloodline will no longer hold the fate of this realm. We will instead leave the council to rule. And he looks about at the other council members, out to you, out to the rest of the group. There will be a chosen few, exemplary members of our society, who will step up and aid in this task, and join the council as well. You, the peoples of Emon, will be the ones to guide us to a new age of prosperity. At this point now, the claps kind of come in again and some cheers happen. There's a little bit of confusion in the crowd, but for the most part, everyone seems to be into it. At this moment, one of the guards kind of hurries up to the side of the stage, and kind of whispers something into Asum's ear. Kind of leans over and gives a nod and a worried expression. Vex.
Yes. Yay!
Don't forget to subscribe to Geek and Sundry, so you can see archives of this show and any others. I don't even know.
Wait.
That's hard, right? When one ear's in, one ear's out, it's tough. Yeah, I was like trying to plug it in. Totally telephone.
The cupcake.
Remember, Liam doesn't really hate Travis in real life.
Wait. As soon as I notice that, I touch Grog and Vex's shoulders and I point up really fast.
You look up and you guys all kind of gather this as well. You can see, piercing out of some of the cloud cover above, what looks to be two fast-moving streaks of color, black and red. That's kind of...
What?
And then you can't see them anymore.
Could I tell from my favorite enemy-ness that it was dragons?
You can make a hefty perception check if you like, to see exactly how much detail you can make out.
Can I look up too? Just
It's because of her
20.
very high perception.
No, that was wrong. 23.
23. It's hard to make out details from this distance. And they're moving quick.
Black and red?
Black and red.
One black and one red.
Uriel now goes, I am beyond confident that all doubts in the capabilities of those I lead the city to, and more. And at this point you start hearing bells going off. Ding, 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 around the city. Tops of walls in the distance. You recognize these. These are warning bells.
Oh, shit.
At which point the crowd starts kind of murmuring and getting nervous, and Uriel kind of puts his hand up. Please, please.
Can I use my primeval awareness to see if it's actually dragons close by?
Okay, you begin to concentrate on that for the moment. Asum now steps up and says, everyone, if I might ask you to all quickly make your way to your respective homes. There is a small emergency we must attend to. At this point, you guys hear this sound and you turn around just in time to see what looks to be a larger than you've seen before, white dragon just slam into the side of Allura's tower in the distance. Claws clunk into the side, digging into the stonework, wings unfurled. It looks into the upper window of where her actual parlor is and kind of peeks in for a second before just unleashing a blast of icy cold magical breath into the inside of the tower. You can see now screams start tearing around you as the guards start getting their weapons ready. At which point the dragon pulls its head back and looks about at everyone screaming and pushes off the tower. As it does, you see the stonework crack and the top of Allura's tower shatter.
Oh,
my
fuck.
God.
You collapse, smashing into the city streets around you. At which point the dragon is and takes off again above you. At this point in time, utter chaos has been unleashed, and you can see now the guards are rushing Uriel off the table. You guys are there kind of caught amongst this chaos. At this very moment, as the white dragon heads deeper into the city, you hear a loud thum impact that silences the chaotic air around you, as the wall that the stage is buttressed up against now has perched above it an enormous vision of death. A grinning, ancient green dragon. Its wings are kind of curled around its form as it looks down at the rest of you in the middle of this open space and goes, "Delicious cattle. Raishan enjoys the taste of fear." At which point it whoosh, leaps down onto the stage, crushing part of it. I would like you all to roll initiative.
What? We can't fight 4 dragons.
I was so worried about you all. I went back for you.
What? We were so worried about you.
I'm glad you came here.
I'm sorry, when they attacked, my instinct was to grab the children. I got who I could, but... Uriel pushed me away. He was trying to get others out of the fray.
Did you see him fall?
I didn't see him fall, but I went back, and I found him fallen.
His body.
What was left of it? I brought back Salda and the children. I brought back Asum. And that, kind of abrasive dragon girl. I don't know where they are right now. And Salda chimes in and goes, they both, actually, they left. They went topsoil to try and find out the survivors. I told them not to. I told them to stay, but they're assumedly off in the city somewhere trying to make sense of all this.
Trying to collect people at our keep.
Kind of turned it into a safe haven.
Oh. That's kind of you. That's good of you. That's probably one of the only safe places in the city right now.